guys, and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Freaky Friday video. I'm excited because there was a part 4 posted to the video. My YouTube video is different than I remember, and if you haven't already watched, I have done parts 1, 2, and 3 in other videos on my channel, so make sure you go and check those out. And we're just gonna hop right into it today. So this is part 4 of my YouTube video is different than I remember. This will be my last update. I know it's been a while. I apologize for that part, but I don't apologize for anything else. In truth, there hasn't been much to update, not till just recently at least. After I walked in on Tyler, talking to apparently no one and slamming the door behind him, I quickly packed my things that were in a heap next to his couch and hustled out to my car. As I started it up, Tyler came running out of the house after me, yelling, "Claire, wait!" I looked at him for a moment. When I didn't say anything, he started running at the car. "Please, let me explain." I wasn't in the mood for his crap. I threw the car into reverse, turned it around, and drove out of the long driveway. My car was full of old stuff like old photographs, stuffed animals, a couple of pieces of furniture that would fit, knickknacks, and books. My brothers and I had already split it up, but I had elected to drive everything back to save money. I drove the entire way home with one stop for sour gummy worms in the restroom. My phone rang and rang until I was annoyed enough with Tyler's calls to shut it off. I got home, crashed on my couch, and took one more day off from work. I was petrified that I wouldn't have a job when I came back, but I wouldn't have been able to function if I came in. Things were pretty normal for a while, or as normal as they could be after losing your best friend and mom in the same week. People were pretty sympathetic at work too, and my boss told me that I was free to use sick time for the next couple of weeks if I needed it. Only I'm hourly and sick time just translates to unpaid time off. No thanks. I drudged through that week and tried to shut out everything strange that had happened. I know I said I wanted to figure it out, but as soon as I got home, I changed my frame of mind and wanted to distance myself from everything as much as possible. But as much as I tried, I couldn't get away from it all. I've always been intuitive, but at the same time, I try to rely on facts and sound logic to make decisions. What do you do when logic doesn't fit with psychics? Ignoring things like this only work for so long. I started having dreams of dying. Every night I would die this horrible, painful death. I didn't know where I was, but I was hiding with others with gunshots exploding around us. A man rounded a corner and pointed a gun at my head. I felt the bullet enter my skull every single time. Then I would wake up covered in my own sweat. Simply ignoring something would not make it go away. I learned that after a week of dying over and over again in my dreams, I went back to that stupid YouTube channel, ready to delete it. It was a desperate, stupid thought that deleting it would make this all go away. My mom and Emily were gone, and if I didn't want to join them, maybe killing the channel would stop that from happening. My curiosity got the best of me. I rewatched all the videos. There were 5 videos on this channel, as I mentioned earlier. I knew what was coming, but I wasn't ready for it. The video was saved for last. I had been filming this video of Emily and myself playing with my mom's little Pomeranian, Coco, who has since passed. In the video, I handed Emily the camera and she pointed it at my brace face. The now me dropped my phone. It cracked when it hit the floor, but I could still see it. My face with a gaping gunshot wound on my forehead. I picked up my phone with the cracked screen and stared at it for a long, long time. If death was coming to me anyway, I was going to die somewhere of my own choosing. I drove through the night. It didn't matter if I didn't notify my work of my absence if I was going to be dead anyway, did it? It was nighttime when I arrived at my mother's house, the for sale sign sticking up out of the earth like a weed. I kicked it as hard as I could and made my way to the lake. I sat on the pier, and yes, it sounds pathetic, but I cried myself to sleep. I woke to footsteps walking towards me on the pier. Maybe I should have been scared, but I felt an odd sort of peace opening my eyes to a blue sky and puffy clouds. It felt like an old friend was coming to greet me. I didn't look to see who. The person stopped just before they were in my vision. The day is beautiful, isn't it? The leaves don't change out west like they do here. I knew the man's voice, but it took me a few moments to know where I heard it from. It was the man who I had heard speaking to Tyler that night. I sat up and stared at him. The man didn't look much older than me. He had a sharp jawline and effortlessly groomed dark hair, all accented with a pinstripe suit. He looked somehow out of place, not only for being outside the lake, but also for this world. It seemed as though I already knew he wasn't human. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. "It is beautiful," I replied calmly. "You're here to kill me, aren't you?" He raised an eyebrow before a look of empathy crossed his face. "Not exactly, my dear. It's time that you understand." He gestured to the spot on the pier beside me. "May I?" I nodded. Together we looked out into the expanse of the lake. Sitting beside him, felt as though I was sitting next to both someone who I knew and loved and no one at all. It felt as if I had chose to reach out and touch him, my hand would only meet the chilly autumn air. I will answer the question that I'm sure is rambling around in that head of yours. I am called the metrologist. That told me nothing. I had never heard of a metrologist before either. Don't you mean a meteorologist? I said. He laughed, but just a little. No, Claire, a metrologist. In simple terms, I keep the worlds in balance. Worlds? Yes, I do apologize. You see, I forget that humans do not have a full understanding of what I do. Please do not take offense to that. I mean you none. None taken. I had been through too much to be offended at the stupidity of humans that he had seemed to be implicating. When I turned to him, I saw a thin smile tracing his lips. You are a good soul, Claire. I do wish that your fate was not so terribly ill. Before I could say another word, he continued. Alas, wishing has no place in this world. As Tyler has now learned, in this world, your fate was to die young. Tyler set out to change that by contacting an associate of mine. Unbeknownst to me, your death was delayed in this world. There are many, many worlds that share your existence, Claire. The puzzle pieces started clicking into place one by one, but there are only two where Emily and I made that YouTube channel. The metrologist smiled sadly. Yes, only two. When my associate granted Tyler's wish, the scales of the worlds were off balance. The two worlds tried to balance themselves. Emily's death and your mother's death were supposed to be in the other world, but now they occurred in yours. He paused for a few moments. I tried to process it, but it didn't make sense. I don't understand. How can two deaths make up for mine? One does not equal one, not in the balance of the worlds. When the worlds tried to correct themselves, not all was right. Your technology can sometimes pick up on these imbalances, show you sort of passwork of where the worlds tried to correct themselves. In this case, it was the bridge that connected the two worlds. And the phone calls? The imbalances picked up by technology once again, much like how your technology itself can malfunction. In the reality where Emily lives, she finds it in herself to make it through the night that you called. In the world where your mother lives, she leaves just a few seconds later and the drunk driver misses her. But if the largest differences between the two realities, these three deaths, doesn't my reality just become the other and vice versa? Unfortunately, no. If a man dons a wolf's pelt, he is still a man, is he not? The world may try to correct themselves, but only I can truly mend them in the end. I looked at him for a few moments. I could see it now. His face was too smooth to be human and his hair was too perfect. What happens if the worlds aren't balanced? They collapse. One concept that your world was correct about was entropy. When the chaotic system of the worlds are unbalanced, the entropy increases exponentially. Disaster, catastrophe, annihilation, that is what becomes of unbalanced worlds. That is why I must balance them myself. His words were heavy with something that I had a hard time deciphering until I realized it all at once. Guilt. If I do not balance your world, it does not mean that it and its brother will collapse, but it could happen. I thought I understood what he was saying. The worlds try to balance themselves, but they do a shitty job of it. It introduces so much disorder into the system that the worlds are unstable enough to collapse. Why are you telling me this? I asked him. Can't you just fix it? He gave me a slight smile. I can, and I could, but I have made enough decisions that carry the weight of enough souls on my shoulders. I would like your permission to balance these two worlds. He didn't have to say what he meant. He was asking for my permission for me to die. I didn't say anything for a while. I felt bad for Tyler, for the guilt that he must have felt. I wondered if the metrologist went to Tyler and asked his permission first, but Tyler told him no. If I chose to die, I knew the terrible fate that I would face. But if I didn't, this world, our world, could die. That would be on me. It didn't take long before I knew that I would choose my own death over risking the deaths of everyone. Just knowing that Emily and my mother would live would be enough for me. The metrologist gave me a sigh of relief, and I gave him the permission that he sought. I'm glad you're kind. Not all are like you and Tyler. Not all words deserve to survive, but yours will for some time more. It seemed that he didn't just keep the worlds in balance. He also decided which worlds could be destroyed if he wanted. Now what? I asked oddly, okay with what was to come. He told me that my death was to be in just a few days, and when and where I needed to be for it. Are others going to die that day because of that man? I asked. The metrologist gave me a sad look. I wish I could tell you, and I wish that it did not have to be this way. If you were to tell anyone about what exactly is to come, the world will be imbalanced once more. I nodded, and he took my hand. Thank you, Claire. Again, I'm truly sorry. Is there anything else you wish to know? There was so much more, but it didn't matter, did it? I would be dead and everything would be the way it should be. I had 2 questions, but I started with this. What exactly are you? He sighed a little. I do not like labels, but some would call me a demon. That is what they would call my associate that Tyler contacted. I thought demons were evil, I said, looking at that too smooth face and icy blue eyes. He gave me a small smirk. Many of my kind think that all humans are evil. That's okay, I said. A lot of my kind think humans are evil too. We both laughed a little. What else do you want to know? What becomes of Emily when I die? The metrologist took my hand. I gasped at the warmth, and suddenly we were standing next to Emily in a hospital room, a wailing newborn in her arms, and an exasperated but smiling Tyler next to her. Are you sure on the name yet, Emily? He asked. I walked closer, and she didn't seem to notice me. Emily looked just a few years older, but I noticed right away a tattoo on the inside of her wrist that she did not have the last time I saw her. Survivor, it read. Her old self-harm scars still slightly visible beneath the ink. It's obvious, Emily said. I just didn't see it before. And? Tyler waited for her to respond. Claire, she said, a smile on her lips. Then the metrologist and I were on top of a mountain, Emily standing with a group of teens. Emily's t-shirt read, Survivors, not Stigmas. She rounded them up and took a group photo. She had always wanted to work with people to help them overcome mental illness. For as long as I've lived in Colorado, the only time that I climbed a mountain was when Emily came to visit. She said that if she were ever able to overcome her own issues, she'd climb this mountain as much as she could. I guess she got what she hoped for. As quickly I had been whisked away, I returned to that pier. This time, I was alone, knowing that I was going to die, but that would be for the right reasons. Soon I will be gone from this world. I do not know what will happen to this post. Maybe it will disappear with my memories, or maybe it will stay like those voicemails did earlier. I don't know. I leave you with 3 things. First, a thank you for your support. Second, know that some wishes cannot be granted without a great cost. Third, if you ever meet the metrologist, please treat him kindly. He may feel empathy, but that means he also feels anger. A snap of his fingers and my death will have been for nothing, and this world could turn to ash. That's literally the end. I was getting chills through that entire story. I honestly did not expect that ending at all. I just expected like maybe the rest of her videos showing different deaths of other people she knows and then she's left alone or something like that. But this is just crazy, and this just goes to show how great of people there are out there. I mean, even though this is just a story, you know that this person really cares for everybody and wants to make sure that everybody around them lives the best life that they can, even if that means something could happen to themselves. And I feel like that's a really good lesson to take away, because you don't know what other people are going through, and it's good to always have an open mind and try to do something nice for people sometimes. I mean, I'm not telling you to give your life at the drop of a dime or anything like that, but maybe do something nice to help someone out and just see the way that that makes you feel afterwards. But this video is already a little bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but I would love to know in the comments what you guys thought of this series, because I was really intrigued by it and I liked it a lot. And don't forget, if you like this video, to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.